Hello guys, welcome to the second episode of Layer Explorer. The guest today is going to be Barnaby. It's one of my best friends as well as Joe. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue doing these introduction videos before each interview, but I edited all 5 interviews together and I felt that I needed to do a little introduction to give some context. I'm kind of learning as I go. I've never done this before. And you also see that in the interviews, the type of questions that I ask, the way I feel like the interview with Joe was like, both of us were like really serious. And I think with Barnaby, we are a little bit more loose. And then with the other guests, I think it gets progressively more relaxed and more casual. But yeah, very different style, very different approach, very different way of organizing layers. I really hope you like it. And yeah, this is Barnaby. Welcome to Layer Explorer. I swear I'm gonna create a sentence for this that will make sense in time, but basically I interview artists, they get to explore, they get to show me their Photoshop files, and then we go layer by layer, kind of unraveling the different layers of their files. I'm here with Barnaby Catterall. He's wearing the Cyber Swine scarf. Yes. I wonder if that's gonna last until the end of the podcast. It's probably gonna be way too hot.
I don't think it will. I'm getting quite hot already. But hello everyone, I'm happy to be here. Big fan of the show, so excited to explore some layers.
Yeah. So I already, this is episode number 2. Already sent episode number 1 to Barnaby. I did it with Joe Mannion. So I'm starting with my two really good friends because there's so many technical problems that I really need their patience in this time. I think we started this like an hour and a half ago and it was only technical problems until we finally start this now. But what we're looking at right now is, so we've made a little change because in the first episode, I was the person with a Photoshop file and that kind of created some like resistances here in the rhythm of this conversation. So now Barnaby is the DJ and I'm just here to ask questions. So are we looking at the final thing? Is this the final?
Yes. Are we supposed to do that or not? Hello, wait, it's working?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay, cool.
You're updating it in real time.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna move on to my Cintiq so it's easier to draw stuff over. So I tried drawing on my mouse a second ago.
So this is why Barnaby is looking both ways. It's like one way is the camera. So one way is the camera and the other way is the Cintiq where he actually gets to see.
You can see the Cintiq double. Okay, it's blurred actually, but yeah.
Okay, you got a blur Cintiq. This is the first episode where we have an actual camera movement. Our production value is going slowly up. Can you give some context about this piece, how you feel about it? I know you have some strong feelings about this piece.
Yeah, definitely. So this, it's a background and a concept piece. It's because I created this for a music video series for a band called Megaverse. And they're like a animated a cappella band, kind of like Gorillaz-y type, but they're not real individuals. They're all characters that me and the producer created. For this video, the robotic a cappella group go to multiple cities, and they end on like this big city. And all the first cities will represent elements, and this is kind of like just a big metropolis, a futuristic city. So that was kind of the initial brief for it. And also it was important because the second video in the series is going to be set in the city. So not only am I designing the concept for the big reveal at the end of the first music video, but it's also going to be the whole setting of the second video. So yeah, that was it. I do like the top half of the image, but I don't like the bottom half of the image. The buildings I'm still pretty happy with because I did this probably almost 4 years ago now.
Wow. Yeah, I remember us talking about this, but I didn't remember it was such a while ago.
Yeah, it was probably just around the start of the second COVID lockdown.
Wow.
So I just realized the scarf happens to match this perfectly, unintentionally.
Wow.
Yeah. Like,
what's that scarf about? What's is this scarf like from someone specific?
Yeah, from at Cyberswine Studios, London-based studio, which makes beautiful merchandise, accessories, fashion attire. Probably be big soon, so support him. Not a paid sponsor, just a friend.
Yeah, just a friend. And what about the lower part? Don't you like?
Oh yeah, so I do like contrast. I do like images which have a lot of noise and things going on in some parts, but then space to breathe in other sections. But I just find the below the wall under the city, I find it just lacks depth. It lacks a lot of depth, this area.
Right.
And I do like it having negative space, but I feel like it needs way more gradation. Maybe things to show scale, like to show how much further this foreground is, because this city is supposed to be very far away, and the pathway kind of gives an indicator of that. But still, I think there's so much depth in the top half, it just doesn't fully get that. So maybe having on some like maybe big rocks or elements in the foreground which shrink down completely in the background, or hills, maybe bits of tech. I'm not too sure exactly what would be the best thing to do, but yeah, just something to add a bit more depth, but also not being too noisy in the foreground.
Right. Okay. Cool. So are you ready to start with the 0 layer?
Yes, 0. And I'm gonna go kind of in orders up, but I also have saved some older layers which aren't actually used in the final piece, just to give a more idea of the process.
Nice. Do you have like sketches, or do you have like
exactly?
Okay. Yeah, because I find that like starting from below doesn't always give like the chronological, like we don't just start with like a blank like sky card and then add the back buildings and then the buildings in front and in front. So
exactly,
yeah, that was the same issue with Joe.
Not my first thing was like, okay, I'm doing a city, what's my first thought? I'm gonna do a blue and purple gradient.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right. We're starting now with the sketches, right? So you have we just prepared a few sketches to show like the earliest stage before the layers starting to come together. So show us the part nobody sees.
So here was the first draft of the sketches. Client wanted to see a few variations for the big city. I did a few different ones.
Right. Can you zoom in a little bit? Perfect. Okay, perfect.
As you can probably quite clearly see, like the first one is the one that's closest to it, halfway going up. I did like some of these other concepts, like the bottom right one I liked a lot. I felt like that was slightly more dynamic angle to it, a bit more 3/4.
Cheeky diagonal.
But I guess that's one thing when working with a client is you kind of, even if you have a favorite sketch, they may not go for your favorite one, and you kind of have to be okay with that. One thing I learned early on is never submit something you don't want to do. Sometimes I'll have an idea of like a few sketches I like, and I'll be like, I feel like I need to fill it out more because I haven't done enough sketches. And do a few you don't like. Then when the client chooses the one you hate the most,
then you have to deal with that for months. Yeah.
So now I only submit things I want to do, and sometimes even I'll submit less sketches just to make sure like it's not going to be anything I don't want to do.
Right. It's a good shout.
So I did that, and actually too, I'm not sure if I'll show later the rest of the series, but the bottom right one, I use that as a good starting point for another city in a city environment in this music video, fucking Earth City. So it was a little bit more post-apocalyptic vibes.
I knew I remember seeing that angle from somewhere, so that's where it came.
Yeah. And viewers, if they want to watch Megaverse Sweet Rendezvous music video on YouTube, you're ready to see all the videos animated together.
Nice.
Maybe. Here's the next sketch, which is still rough, but quite clean for rough. I'm actually surprised in myself by how clean some of these roughs are. For a rough, there's a lot of layers in it. Like a lot of my roughs, I don't have this many, but I think it's just down to how much depth there was in the city. So if I did it all on one layer, if I wanted to make adjustments to perspective or move things around compositionally, it'd be a bit hard. But
right.
I could even turn these off just to bottom layers to the ground. I got the stars,
the sky details,
some ships, roughs. Which, thinking about it too, I probably didn't actually. I'm working backwards here, but I actually probably worked forwards when drawing this, because obviously these ones are made to fill in the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely did not
start with that. Yeah,
lots of buildings first, but yeah, most of the main buildings were done on this layer here.
Oh. Yeah, and this was done on top of the other rough sketch, so it's not that we're drawing on a blank like Photoshop file.
Yeah,
nice. Okay, so we are now showing we're done with the sketch, so what's next?
Yep, so back the rough sketch, and now we're going to see the clean, which if I go between them, isn't huge differences compositionally or anything, it's just how well rendered they are.
It is cleaner.
It's a lot cleaner, yeah.
Yeah.
And, a lot of little details, add a lot of little details and noise to it too, to add some texture. I'll go through them quickly, but I think there isn't much to it. It's got the background, there's a floor, the wall, the door. Yeah, I did it out completely flat first, then added textures. Yeah, I've worked a lot in this line style before, so I was quite comfortable with it. Definitely one thing I should do for my own growth as an artist is do less line work, because I do like it a lot, but I would like to practice more painterly styles, like Joe's from the previous episode.
Two of my closest friends, it's like you are in totally different directions in like very line based stuff and then very painterly based
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm trying to work on a UPA kind of like Samurai Jack, Dexter's Laboratory kind of style background at the moment.
Nice.
Which is interesting because it's lineless, but it's also very graphic. I do a lot of graphic stuff, so it's a nice transition from from this liney work to more painterly stuff.
Nice. And where are you going to be posting that? Give us your links.
On my Instagram. I may even go phone in for the Pedro Martins weekly, or not even weekly, multiple times.
Bi-weekly, I guess. No, bi-weekly means every 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So it happens twice every week.
If anyone can comment what that word is, which is less than a week, that'd be really helpful. Yeah, for the Twitch. Sorry, lost my head. I keep thinking to say Zoom, like the Zoom.
my weekly Zoom.
But that's not it. So clean line is done. So I'll now go on to the first color variation.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing this one. It's funny. Like you were showing me this just before we start recording, and like it's quite very different from the end.
Yeah, so this is interesting. This one has the layers broken down onto it, but this one, for some reason, I'm not sure why I did this, has more stuff, but it's merged. So I might just go to the merge one to look at, so it gives more information. See, I didn't actually do any color thumbs for this. I think I just kind of did this where I started coloring it a bit, then sent a few starts to the colors to the client to see what he thought. And this one I included the reference image, was inspired a lot by the city it was very pixelated. But yeah.
It looks like the planet where they come from.
Yeah, so it's inspired by this a lot. Even some of the design choices I made in some of the buildings was quite like influenced by the city.
Nice.
I like the kind of the greenness to it, so I want to try. And I really like how bright the yellow windows were. I just tried like what that kind of palette would look like, a similar palette to that would look like in this. And it kind of worked, but I think if I fully developed it, it could have been done. I even tried like mimicking kind of grayed sky.
Wow.
But I think it looked a little bit too evil for what the client wanted.
Right, yeah.
And then especially given the context to the next video was going to be set here, I thought this might be a bit too menacing and intense for the kind of the theme of the video. But yeah, I still quite like it.
Yeah.
There's another one in another color palette too. Here's the second one. I don't really like this one at all. I'm not really sure how to describe this one.
So you had to submit like 3 different color palettes, or was that like the brief that the client gave you?
Good question. I can't actually remember if I needed to do that or it's just something I chose to do.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I think I always like to submit, even if I haven't been asked to submit at a certain stage, I like to get as much client feedback as possible just to make sure I don't have a wrong turn. Especially with this client too, because he wasn't an artist, but he did give very good feedback. Probably the best feedback I've had from a client who doesn't have an art background. Without visual art. Sorry. Actually, that's a very good point because he is a musician. So maybe that knowledge and giving feedback, because he's does a lot of choir work. So being used to giving feedback to other artists, even though it may be a different medium, probably helps him a lot with.
That's a good shout.
Yeah, this one, I think just that it feels a bit messy. Some bits, a lot of things kind of fighting for attention. I wouldn't be surprised the black and white. Yep, all the buildings kind of look similar.
Same gray.
Yeah, same gray as the ground. The light color is the same as the sky color. I'm curious, how does the green one work in this way? Yeah, the green one has way more. Yeah. So wasn't a fan of that one. Then we get the final color, which is the
boom, best one. So, because I noticed that you were going from like darker foreground to lighter background, but now this one you actually shifted it, and you have a lighter foreground, and it gets darker as it goes away. And I think that's why it feels so much less like menacing.
Definitely, and I feel I may be wrong about this, and maybe you better tell me. But is that something to do with? The reason it's is it to do with the time of day, or just where the light is coming from? Is it just because the sun is here that would make sense too?
It's a good. I think it's a mixture of like the colors are less intense, the darkness like of all the values is like much lighter, and you are doing the opposite of the atmospheric perspective where it goes like lighter and bluish as it goes far away. I think maybe, but I think because you chose more pastel colors or like lighter saturations, it also feels like less intense on the eye,
Definitely.
Yeah, I remember talking about that sky gradient, because we were like, okay, what do you think about the sky? And I was like, gotta add a little gradient there so it
Yes.
comes closer to the horizon.
Yeah, I think I think I remember that too, because I think also I was trying gradations initially, but because this is a quite graphic with the shading, there isn't really much gradients in other places. I was trying to do a block gradient, but it just looked too.
Call
It
for too
stood
much
out a bit too
attention.
much. Yeah, a bit too much intense. Whereas this one, it doesn't draw your eye as intensely.
Right.
I could go through all the layers. It might be a little. I might just turn off certain ones, which I know show things. Like here are some of the main shadow layers, for example. So as you can kind of see, I use the same shadow layer for multiple buildings, and I kind of have it layered by quite a lot by how far they are in the foreground and background.
Okay.
So even some of this one is the one that kind of goes over a lot, and also I think they're also done by how dark and light they are. So obviously the ones close to the foreground are kind of a bit more intense, but the main base color too. And I turn that off, it goes back to the green one. It's kind of funny seeing it in the
So
pink
intense.
light layers. Yeah, and all layer masked to the base color. So I've got a solid gray base. Then I have all the which I don't think
variations.
the best way to do it. Yeah, the color variations on top of the gray base. Then on the same mask, then on top of those in the same mask, has got the shadows, which I think is a little bit of a messy way to work.
That's how I do it too, to be honest. I like to start with the color base, and then I add a first pass on shadows, and then if there's highlights, then I'll do the highlights.
Right. Yes. If I turn it all off, that's a weird layer. I don't know why that was there, but yeah. So it's actually the darkest tone. It's the base. Then it gets
interesting. Okay, this is the background layer.
Yeah, this is the base, and then the base background. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you actually started darker and then went lighter as you come closer. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and I think the one downside was being in background. I did so long ago. I don't remember a lot of these decisions.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, I did that. That's interesting. I had a cool layer too. I don't know. Yeah, I think I made it realized it looked a bit too warm, so I used that to adjust it. On here, which is a light adjustment.
Couple highlights.
I didn't really use that much adjustments. Yeah, all the highlights, the green. I also have these subtle little grey window dots in. I think the client suggested this. You just wanted it to see like there were lights in the windows, which are kind of subtle. Like,
yeah.
You add something. What else do I have in here? So this is the final image. This color rush from before. Oh, I got this one layer called "Where's the Center?" because I was lazy, and there's a Photoshop function which tells you that. I always forget how to use it, so I just do the kind of method when you're drawing, when you just draw across.
Yeah.
Then you do that. So
is the layer called that? I can't read the.
Yeah. So it literally just says "Where's the Center?" And then I've got obviously my black layer with a color.
Just check the tones.
Yes, yeah. What's this called? Blending option? Is that
blending mode? Yeah.
Blending mode, which is really useful checking the tones. And whenever I start a project, I tend to just have one of these just as my highest up layer, so I can just turn it on and off just to see the tones. And I've also got an empty layer called layer 64, which has nothing on it, so I'm going to delete that now. Definitely need a better layer organization with this.
Changing the Photoshop live.
Yeah, I'm happy with this piece overall. One mentioned a few things at the start, but one other thing I don't regret, but didn't think too much about is how these colors will work in the next video, because I think the scene can work quite well when you have the full shebang. You have the sky, the pink and blue sky, and the pink ground. But a lot of this video was inside the city, so you couldn't normally see the ground or the sky because they'd be on higher up layers in the city.
Like different platforms and floors, right?
Exactly, so you can't see both. So it's just a lot of grey and green, which I don't think works as well without these blues and pinks. So that's something I didn't think as much about the story, the narratively where it'd be set in the city. I think if I were going to do this again, I would plan that out a little bit better. Maybe even do separate sketches from concept art from the next video as I'm doing this.
Okay, so that's it. Like that's the all the layers of this background. I want to say a really big thank you to you, Barnaby, for the time and for being able to do this, and so much patience, because there really were so many technical problems. I'm still trying to figure this out, so I'm really grateful for that. Tell us what you're up to now. Tell us, look at the camera and tell us everything we should know, all of your links. How can we find you? I'm referencing Hot Wings right now because that's how it ends.
Well, thank you very much, Pedro. It was great to be here. I had a great time. Right now, I am at my family's house, visiting for Christmas.
Where's your house? Can you tell us a fun fact about Hastings?
I can tell you a lot of fun facts about my hometown. It has the world record for the most people dressed as pirates. It hosts world mini golf. Oh shit! Actually, it's the world. Can I swear on here?
You can swear. Yeah, you can swear.
Me acting as if we're on TV. Like breaking the broadcaster rights. No, but I'm working on a show at the moment, kids show. Also doing some freelancing bits here and there. Like I've done a lot of music videos, like backgrounds from. Yeah, I'm at Barnaby Catterall on Instagram, and if you just type in my full name, it's not very common, so I will just come up everywhere.
So lucky. I wish my parents had thought about my visual portfolio.
Even with like your 10 middle names, like is that still like common?
Yeah, true. But imagine me having like pedromiguelafonsomartins.com at .art.
I think that'll work.
Food for thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Change your app before the next live stream.
But I just got an email for some video game application. So we have this mystery of like, what's it gonna be?
Oh, can you open it on chat? Like
live. It's probably one of those like, unfortunately, we decided to go forward with someone, blah blah. Because I like they're not saying like we are so pleased to let you know that you are blah, blah, blah. You have the like they don't start with that I already know it's not going to be good news.
Yeah, if they don't start, there's a very specific way of starting an email where you can just tell with the first line if you haven't got the job before. Yeah.
I bet it's gonna be something like that. But yeah, so thank you so much for everyone that watched until this point. This is episode 2 of Layer Explorer, where we get to look at the insides of the Photoshop files of many different visual artists. I'm not doing background art. I can do character design. Maybe, who knows, I'll do some storyboard and stuff like that. But right now I'm starting with background art because it's what I'm more comfortable with, what I know the most. And thank you so much. And I'll see you on the next episode. Mwah.
Bye.